Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our February 17th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes? Here. Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Yep. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 3rd. Any additions or corrections?
Make a motion we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 3rd, 2014.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2014-04 in the amount of $376,225.79. Lee.
I don't have anything.
Dr. Hayes.
No questions.
George.
I just got one, basically, Jeremy. Mary, on the clubhouse payment on Oak Crest, how many have we got left on that? Is that an annual or semi-annual payment?
That's a semi-annual, and our last payment will be in September this year.
Of this year?
Yep, and then the Golf Commission will make one more payment to us next year in the spring for the roof.
Hallelujah. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, Chris.
I got one on page 5 under electric. APX Inc., the MI Rec 2014 renewal fee.
Which one was that, Chris?
The MI REC
Oh,
2014
my
renewal
Rex.
fee.
Yes, okay. That is the fee that we have to pay the state of Michigan to register the renewable energy credits that the hydro produces. They keep track of them.
And I also noticed a couple items from CyberZone that were separate from the monthly fee that we're paying them for tech support. Were these special trips they had to make out here, or why were these extra charges?
They were extra charges because they were outage. It was one outage that we had, and there was a couple of special projects that wasn't part of the maintenance agreement.
So an outage isn't considered a...
No, this was like I believe it was electrical
Well, we had
on outage.
a modem, I'm sorry, not a modem, we had a switch, and a port in the back of the switch burned up.
Oh, and they had to come out and
They had to come out for that.
I sit down with Scott on a monthly basis, and then we go through that. So we had gotten behind by a couple months through December and then January. So that's why they're kind of coming out now.
Okay, that's all I have.
And I have no questions.
Jeremy, I got one more.
Go ahead.
I see we go buy salt from Paul's. The clubhouse.
For the
Don't they
clubhouse,
come-
George? Yeah, the Golf Commission must buy their salt there, George. We buy salt by the pallet load down here. We get a couple pallets every year through a vendor. We get it for several dollars cheaper a bag than what you can buy it for at
Oh,
Hall's.
I mean, nobody comes and gets a bulk out of it.
No, they're putting that on their sidewalks, George. They don't want the rock salt on their sidewalks because it's going to take the coating off the top and pop
Okay.
it. So they're buying sidewalk salt. That's what they're buying.
Okay, Jeremy.
Okay. With that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion we approve manifest 2014-04 in the amount of $376,225.79.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on the minutes manifest or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. If not, there'll be a further time for comment at the end of the meeting on any subject. Okay. First thing on the agenda this evening, we have appointments and presentations. We have Bob McMahon from Farner Asphalt to discuss the street maintenance options. Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bob and I have been working for the last year. We got together on the crack sealing project, and we had, as we were going through that project, he was going through some other options with some of the roadways that we have, different pavement conditions that we have, where crack sealing is probably not the best option. There's other alternatives. One of the things we did at that time, this was, remember, late summer, early fall, is we decided to, at some point here in the winter, before we get into budget hearing, have a discussion with council about those different options, have them come in, and on this beautiful white evening, I thought maybe it was a good time to talk about road maintenance, so, other than plowing and salting. So Bob, why don't you come on up and give your presentation?
My name is Bob McMahon with Farner Asphalt Sealers. Just a little background. I've been with the company for 14 years, selling basically in northern Wisconsin. I get into the UP a little bit. When I was going through your roads and measuring up for crack sealing and putting that together, one of the things I noticed was that they were right at the borderline of where crack sealing, they needed to be crack sealed, but it was almost to the point where it was beyond crack sealing. And one of the things that happens, or one of the smartest things, or one of the things that I see that townships that maintain a higher level Pazer rating for their roads do is that once you pave a road, one of the things you got to do is budget money for the maintenance and keeping them prepared. And we look at the roads as more of a roof, because it's that gravel base underneath the asphalt that is the road itself. And if that starts to deteriorate, excuse me, then your road starts to fall apart. Well, that crack sealing is the number one maintenance item for your dollar. It goes the furthest. But after time, that asphalt layer starts to dry out and unravel, so you need to put some type of surface coat on there. Excuse me. And there are several things that work on that. There's chip seals, which we do. Mostly we do those on township roads or outside roads, because that's an oil and a loose gravel aggregate. There's a fair amount of loose aggregate that's left. It can, if it's in residential areas, it gets into the yards, and people are hitting it with lawnmowers and kicking it out back into cars and stuff like that. So in residential areas, there's two things that work that I seem to recommend. There's slurry seals and microsurfacing. And the difference between those two is that with the slurry seal is a little bit less expensive, but it does not have Portland cement in it and does not have leveling capabilities. It just follows the routine of the road and is not quite as solid or as firm as the microsurfacing is. The microsurfacing has some leveling capabilities and has Portland cement mixed in with it. And then that product has some leveling capabilities and also fills in places that are starting to unravel. The street that we looked at, now I forget the name of it. Section Street that we crack sealed. Now there's spots on it that I pointed out that are starting to unravel. Now that it's been prepped for the cracks, it's a perfect candidate for microsurfacing. And it's something that if you don't do that, the spots that are starting to unravel are going to unravel faster, and as it starts to break down, it deteriorates faster. I think you all got some pamphlets. I wasn't 100% sure. I left quick. Yep. All right. And it just gives an idea of what they are in the slurry seal one. If you go to the page 2, it shows you kind of how the process is done. On the second page of it, the material is all combined in one box, and the product is mixed in the truck, and then laid down, and then pulled with like a squeegee or a box as a slush form. Sets up in 4 to 6 hours, so pretty fast turnaround time. People can be back on the roads without too much hassle, too much breakdown. And if you go to the page after that too, it shows pavement condition index. It's just something that's on there that shows that, preventative maintenance costs you $1 per square yard roughly. If you go down and do pavement, if you have to patch it and do more maintenance on it before you do the preventative maintenance, it can cost you $2 to $4, and then reconstruction costs you $8 per square yard. So in order to keep that mile, you can keep a higher sustainable ride for less money by continually doing some maintenance. So whenever you budget money for paving, new paving, it's a good idea to get that money in there for maintenance also to keep those roads up. One of the townships that's made tremendous progress that I work with, and it's not always the worst roads that you take care of first, because if you're taking care of your worst roads, you're spending a lot of money. You want to take care of those roads that are in the middle, or first get those taken care of and then kind of work your way back. Do some reconstruction, some of those main roads, and it'll keep them going for another 7 to 8 years, where you don't have to come back and reconstruct all those roads again. So I guess what I'm saying too is when you pave roads too, a good maintenance program is in 2 to 3 years, you should be looking at crack sealing. 4 to 5 years after that, a resurfacing some type, and then another crack sealing and another resurfacing. One of the towns in the township of St. Germain, down near Eagle River, has got a road now that still has a pavement rating of an 8, and the road is 27 years old. They've chip sealed it twice and crack sealed it 3 times in that time. So it's, it helps extend that 3-mile section of road, so their total cost and, as opposed to reconstructing it, and the inconvenience of it has been quite a savings for them. One of the other things that I have on the last page here too is this Tricor. This is another product that's out there that we do, that we just started using, and that's a rejuvenator, and that's something that's put on the roads 3 to 4 years after it's been down. But what that does is it brings back and adds the material that asphalt is made out of back into the oil. It's kind of a hard sell. You don't really notice too much. It doesn't stay black. It doesn't do anything. But what it does is it rejuvenates that oil. So actually what it does then is it slows down the rate. It reduces the cracks. It reduces the raveling. And so you can actually go another 4 or 5 years before you have to do extra crack sealing, or add an extended 4 or 5 years before you're doing a chip seal on it or a micro surfacing on it. So it helps extend the life of the road there. And then I had one other box where I had some stuff highlighted in there on this sheet, I think I had in there too. And one of the things I just wanted to point out too is that on the bottom of the first page, appearances, normal slurry and micro surfacings, looks its very worst immediately after being constructed. It takes a little bit of time for the traffic to knead it down and wear it down. So it's one of the few products that actually looks worse when it's first down than it does. Raveling, all slurry will shed some aggregate during the process, but it's just the finer stone that's on the surface, and it's nothing like in the form of like a chip seal does. I had given some budget pricing and some quotes on that too. So I think on from US 2 to Stadium View was roughly $35,000 for microsurface. Does anybody have any questions?
How much of this stuff, say, runs off and gets in your sewers?
On this, virtually none. This is, there's a
On both systems?
for the micro or the slurry. Chip seal, you would have to have pickup sweepers, and then there still would be quite a bit. But with this, this goes down as a slush. It sets up in 4 to 5 hours, and it's got Portland cement in it. It's a very hard product. We did a parking lot in Minocqua last year with it, and even with some heavy rains, we didn't have too much problems. We had some problems with, we did a credit union in Rhinelander, and we had some problems with night when it wasn't supposed to rain, and we had 1 hour clouds came in, poured right after we'd set it up, and we had some material wash, but we were able to sweep up the aggregate. None of the aggregate washed, a little bit of the oil. We had some black film that ran down, but it's all emulsion product and not hazardous to anything, and we were able to clean that up. So even if you run into big problems, it's not much of a problem. I mean,
Would you need any equipment to put this down? I see one that looks like it goes to the back of the sander, that you would hook onto it. How
If you,
about
if you
this-
look on the second page of this one, right here, this right here,
Yeah,
that's equipment, and basically what we have is we have an aggregate pile someplace, we have a stockpile of aggregate and water, and everything's mixed in the truck, so that one truck does everything. It mixes the material right in the truck. So there's sand, oil, water, and Portland cement. When I say sand, it's actually an aggregate, a combined aggregate that's all there, and then it's computerized. We set it up at the rate that we want to do it. So that comes in, it goes into an auger box where it's all mixed together with an auger. You see that up in the top box, and then that drops down into another box that augers and spreads it out in the box that's got lifts on it that determines the depth of the depth that we set the material down at, kind of like a paver type thing, but it's
Bob, you had mentioned that you can deal with a pan, with a curb and gutter.
right. And so we
explain that.
we can taper it off at the curb, so we're not going over the curbing, and brings it up there, so you're not, you don't have any problems there. No reconstructions needed.
And that thinner area doesn't peel away.
No, over time, you'll get some, if you have some high spots, you have a big high spot or something like that, it'll shave a little bit off there, but but once it shaves, it's a big block. It doesn't start to unravel from there or anything like that. So if you got one big hump in the road too, I mean, you'll see where even on asphalt, it starts digging in there. It's just a little bit more noticeable on this because it's a separate product or separate layer on there.
micro sealing and the other one, they're both two different.
Microsealing and slurry, it's
different
basically the same product. It goes down the same way, it goes down on the same trucks. The difference is that the microsurfacing has some Portland cement in it and has some leveling capabilities. So if you've got ruts in the road or dips in those spots, the microsurfacing will fill minor imperfections out. It won't go, we can go up to 2 inches, but that's with multiple lifts. So if you've got real bad ruts, one of the things you do is go through and rut fill on section road. You don't have anything that's bad, but you do have some ruts, and just a normal single pass would be sufficient. But so it would bring back some of the surfacing on the road, bring it back to a level, more level surface.
Do they go through and scrub the blacktop first, or
We sweep it.
you sweep it?
Yep.
Not wash it off, just sweep
No,
it?
just sweep it, yep. If it's real hot, we dampen the, a lot of times when it's going down, there's a hose on it, we dampen the road as it's going, so that dampness helps settle any dust that's on there, and then that incorporates that dust or that material into the aggregate itself, because it's a multiple grades of material that are in the product. And so you don't have a dry course on there that sort of bonds to the road.
With the Portland cement, would the color then be black, or would it be more of a?
It's
asphalt
going to be.
color? Or-
We had in the past. Most of ours have been black. Have stayed black. It still comes out as a dark gray now, though. We were using slag in the materials, but we've done a bunch of tests with the Richter tests, wear tests, and we found that some of the material, and they're doing some more testing on it now, so I don't know, every year they come up with something a little bit different, but we found that with the slag that we were using in it before, and that was one of our competitors' mixes too, that we didn't get the wear factor with it because the slag it made the product look nicer and it stayed black, but that slag is glassier, and it didn't, and all the aggregates didn't bond as well with it. So when we did the friction tests, or not the friction tests, but the wear tests on it, we came up with a different mix with some lighter stone that lasted a lot longer. And so now our product will not stay black for the length of time, but it's still pretty dark and will gray out over time, just like a regular blacktop asphalt will. But it doesn't, I guess, does that answer your question? Or it doesn't,
Yes.
it doesn't,
The Portland cement, would that make it a lot lighter? That's what it sounded like.
right, well, there's not that much in it, it's a hardening factor. It doesn't get as light as concrete does. It still stays more in the line of an asphalt. It'll go down dark, it'll be dark, the first year, but it will lighten up. Most of it's dependent upon the aggregate that's in it. And so if it's a darker stone, it'll remain darker for a longer period of time.
One thing you mentioned last week when we were talking, from a durability standpoint, that you have done a number of runways.
Yes,
airway runways.
a lot of airports are done, slurry seals are done on runways to,
They require pretty hard surface.
yep, and and they have pretty aggressive plowing.
Yeah.
Have you tried any, like aggregate that they use from the, I guess blacktopping is using some of this stuff now, Ray? I don't know if you've been aware.
Oh, the recycled, reclaimed?
No, from the mine out here, from
Copper mine?
the Staso, roof granules.
Oh.
That evidently some of your blacktopping companies have been mixing in that.
No,
with-
but
with
I,
their blacktopping. I'm just wondering if you said, or
No.
aware of that, if you've tried it.
no, we haven't, we were using some stuff from copper mines, slag from there, and some slags from paper mills. So I don't know if that's the same product or not. This is,
This, well, you know, granules
be
from a roof
granite.
is real,
They make granules for the roofing.
oh, okay. No, and where is that?
there's a mine just
South of here.
Okay.
15 miles south of here.
No,
That they haul it continuously out of.
I'll take a look at it. It's definitely a possibility.
And your aggregate and stuff, is that all hauled in, or is that just bought locally?
That's hauled in.
That's special?
It's either hauled in or we constructed it on site with, we don't use any material that we haven't run tests on. So, we have one guy, young kid actually here that just started with us. It's very good, and he's gone around and to different places, taking different aggregates from different areas so that we don't have to haul material so far, and then has developed different mixes with different aggregates from different areas. So I don't know where the closest spot would be here, but most of it would be hauled in, pre-mixed and then set up. But we usually bring it in big end loaders, or depending on where it comes in. So, and it's not, I can't remember what the tonnage is per square yard too, but it's not an ungodly amount to haul in, not like a chip seal and stuff like that, because it's mixed with the water and laid thinner.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, in our communications this evening, we have 4 items. The first item is approval of the wastewater treatment plant aeration project final pay request. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a final pay request for our aeration project at the wastewater treatment plant. The contractor has completed his work. All testing has been completed. So we'd like to have the final pay request approved. We're still, there's some paperwork that we're working with them on, and we plan to hold that until everything's complete. But we wanted to get this, at least the approval completed, so once that's done, we can send the check.
Ray, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Down here on the bottom, this last item under wastewater, is that aeration project, has that got anything to do with this one here?
That does. We had to have Brooks come in on, it was part of the project, but it wasn't part of the contractor scope. So that was taken care of separately.
Oh, I just, wondering if they were together here, part of, or,
It's not part of this pay request, it's handled separately.
okay, that's what my request was.
Okay, is there any other questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the final pay request for August winter and sums be approved for a price not to exceed $11,613.75.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Okay, next we have approval electric utility transmission distribution agreement with American Transmission Company. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city has previously approved, entered into a contract with the ATC on the transmission distribution and agreement. With some changes with the MISO, there are some updates that needed to take place, amendments to this transmission distribution agreement. The review of the updates in the agreement has actually been taking place over the last year. I think it was the spring of 2013 that WPPI actually did receive a copy or a request, and on behalf of all of its members, their legal team went through and reviewed the proposed amendment, and there was a number of back and forth that they had, and then we received the final product for final review about a month or so ago. And now it's just for council to review and move forward on approving this amendment. We did give a copy to the city attorney's office, and Joe and I both took a look at it, and it looks like it's ready for approval.
Larry, did Jay have a chance to look this over? Did you talk to him?
He didn't see any problems with it. On board.
Okay, is there any other questions?
I was concerned about Article 7. Planning an obligation to serve. Did you read anything, or did Jay read anything here about would conflict with our previous motion from this council to object to an ATC line going through the city?
No, this is relative to our connections with ATC, not any new construction. That would have to go through a whole different process. Is that what you're concerned about? Joe, you look like
Well,
you have something.
7.2, it sounds like they're concerned with new construction.
What?
Dr. Hayes, this agreement is for the existing substation that we built in 2009 to interconnect the 69,000 volt line to that substation. That's all that this deals with, and whose responsibilities they are and who owns what part of the substation. The city of Norway owns the majority of it, and ATC owns the lines coming up to our structure inside that substation. So that's basically what this is all about. And then with the addition of MISO, like Ray alluded to, there just need to be some clarifications. That's why they asked for a new one. We had one of these signed with them already. They just updated it.
I certainly don't see anything else with the rest of the agreement, but I was just concerned about this part. And it talks about construction of transmission projects. If the local distribution company proposes construction of a transmission project, so they're talking about new construction as well.
Yeah,
7.4, so it's not just old construction. I just want to make sure there wouldn't be any confliction with this contract, and if we object to them putting high-tension power lines through our city.
Well, this is a contract for connection with between the city of Norway and ATC. Some of the new construction they're referring to probably, and I'd have to go back and further research, but it probably would be especially from the city standpoint, if we constructed new transmission and we had a connection, anything that involves that connection to ATC is really what we've been discussing through these agreements. The line that you're referring to that we've objected to goes past us. It doesn't connect to us. So, that's really not in this agreement is for the connectivity between the city and ATC. Joe, you were going to say something? You had something?
Yeah, in 7.3 to 7.5, it kind of outlines all the way up to Article 8 regarding that if there's enough load growth within the community that warrants the addition of another substation or an extension of the transmission line, it has to be warranted by the transmission owner, ATC, and subject to all their rules before it can be built, and they can deny that if they don't see a need for it. That's what when they're talking about construction.
Yeah, it's a connectivity between the city and ATC.
I have no other questions.
Any other questions? Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the amended transmission distribution agreement with ATC be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yes?
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Okay, next we have approval of the Michigan DNR Passport Grant Project Engineering Agreement. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What's before you this evening is the engineering agreement, the Coleman Engineering, to start working on the 2 new tennis courts under the Passport, MDNR Passport Grant Project. I did talk to the DNR last week, and they were preparing the contract between the city and the DNR, and that was going to be sent out. They said it was going to be sent out last week. I assume I'm going to probably get that this week for us to move forward on. But they did say that they advise that we get our ducks in a row with our engineering firm so they can start working on the engineering.
Is that fee part of, going to be reimbursed by the grant, or is that part of the local share?
That is part of the local share. I mean, it's a total project, so
Right.
it's encountered in the.
Well, I just didn't know if it was grant refunded or if it was part of ours.
Right. So, we're wanting to move forward with the grant agreement or with the engineering agreement so we can get our engineers moving forward on designing the project.
Does Coleman feel that the 5,000 is going to be sufficient to do the design work?
Yes. We
Ray,
will.
excuse me, I've got a couple of questions here.
Okay.
Down on the lower part of the first page of this contract, the density testing of the subbase and asphalt, that the responsibility of the contractor. And then the next line, survey and staking of the construction site will be required of the contractor. I've got some concern about that, just for the simple fact that Coleman was involved with these last 2 alley jobs, and I don't know who put the stakes in or who run the grades, but I think there's too many hands in this deal here, in which Joe is aware of, where we got water running the wrong way into the outer manholes instead of into it. And if you read through here, it just kind of feels like, Coleman is doing it, but it's a contractor that's going to put the stakes in and is going to test the density and stuff of it. I mean, where is our faith in engineering, and who's going to check this, if that's part of what their job is? It goes through it. It says, they'll be on the site once or twice a week to make inspections and everything, but I'm certainly not happy with the job that they did in the alleys, and now we're basically ending up with the same situation here. Joe, have you heard, well, I'm sure within the next month, you're going to be hearing lots more on these alley deals.
Yeah, I'm prepared for that, George.
Ray, this grant was for what, 45,000?
45,000.
45, and then supposedly the city was going to do in-work kind for their share?
Yes.
Which was roughly 15?
Correct.
So now this extra 5, does that make the whole total project 20 grand for the city and 50 grand for the whole job?
The total project is $60,000, including the engineering.
Including the engineering?
That's
So it would be 10,000 of our work plus the 5,000 of engineering.
right.
Oh, so it's not all in-kind work then? Our work is $10,000 worth of work plus the 5,000 for the engineering then.
That's my understanding. Unless they are reimbursing the engineering, but they typically don't reimburse the engineering.
Any other questions? I know the tennis courts are something that we need. And have we done, I know we've talked about it before, have we heard anything like with the school's involvement in?
The school, I did send a letter to the school. They deferred to the athletic boosters, and so I did send a letter to the athletic boosters. They were interested in participating, but what they would like to participate on are some of the appurtenances, some of the extra nets, poles, posts, backboards, you know, something very tangible, as opposed to just saying, here's $5,000 for the project. I did talk to Mr. Oliveris about bracket fund, and he indicated that they were looking at also contributing. I don't have a letter of confirmation or an amount, but it's more than what the 5,000 was. And I also have planned to send out other letters for contributions. So we're looking at trying to bring in some additional monies, you know, to help out.
Ray, I'd like to have a better clarification on these two statements here.
Which two statements, George? The staking,
Density
surveying, and
testing and the
density?
survey staking.
Okay.
Who's gonna, I mean, you end up with a project, and like I said before, you got two people involved here now, and all they're doing is passing the blame back and forth on who's responsible for a screw up.
Well, we can table this till next meeting to get the clarification.
I'll vote no on it the way it is. I mean, I'm not gonna pass something like this. Now, when we see the problems we've got already, it's no use to go out looking for more.
You know, their $5,000, I'm sure, doesn't account for what you pointed out. If we're more comfortable with having them handle surveying and the density, then there may be an additional cost associated with that. I'm not, you know, in any way saying that I'm not also, you know, in favor of what you're saying. Staking, I think the contractor should stake. You know, in road projects, we try to have the contractor stake their own projects as well. But some of the issues that we saw down in the alleys, you know, I think that that could have been, you know, contractor had some ideas, move forward on it, and you know, I think if we would have held a little firmer on what the original design idea was, then we wouldn't have those problems. So maybe a little less latitude, maybe is
Well,
maybe the way to put it.
What I'd like to see, Ray, is somebody responsible for the whole job. I mean, if you're hiring an engineering firm, I mean, I feel they should be there to make sure that your grades are right, your density is right, all this is right, that the job is done right.
I think that,
That's what my point is.
I think the engineer would be the one to have that in this case, because with the in-kind labor or in-kind work that we're going to have with the sub-base work, you know, the contractor is going to come in after we do some of our work, and I would think that they would want that testing to be done before they start. You know, the finger pointing is it's not like we're going to hire a contractor and say, okay, you build the whole thing. You know, we're going to have to do some work. In order to save some money, we were going to do some work ahead of time. So, you know, they're putting the pavement down on top of, you know, we're going to bring it to rough grade. They're going to have to get some of the density in the final gravel and then the pavement. So there's some work that we did, or what we're going to have done, that they're going to put their material on. So I would think that we're gonna need Coleman to do some of that anyway.
But yeah, kind of like what George is saying though, now there's three people involved. It's the contractor, the engineer, and us. So contractor's gonna say it's our sub base, we're gonna say it's their asphalt.
But that's why you
And-
need the engineer.
But the engineer is saying it's the contractor's responsibility. So I think we need to take a look at it more and get like George said, get clarification on that. And if we have to, maybe get a different contractor. I would prefer to have one person responsible, like you said, if it's
Exactly.
Coleman,
I mean, why
come in with the
put
cost.
$60,000 here and end up with a piece of junk like we got on the other project?
Come in with the cost if they're gonna
Sinkholes and
handle that
everything
too.
else. I mean, to me, this is going backwards.
Just come in with the cost if they're gonna handle that too, that end of it too.
Okay.
Well, it should still, if they're gonna, no matter who handles any what part, it should still come underneath the cost of the project.
Well, it would just be how much of it, how much is the engineering contract gonna be? Because if they're gonna handle it, sure, it will still come in under the cost of the project, but how much of that's gonna have to be, are we gonna bear, how much of it's in the contractor's part? If the
We have
con-
to clarify who pays the engineer then. If we're gonna have the engineer do more, does that mean we're gonna pay more of the cost?
Yes, I would assume yes. But then that would be less, when it's out for bid, that would be less that the contractor would have to do. So it could come in as an adjustment in there, because they wouldn't have to do the testing. I don't know, it's just could, it's not will or anything like that.
You're offsetting costs. I mean, it's gonna happen anyway. If you have it in the bid for a contractor, they're gonna put money in to handle that.
Well, I was just concerned, like you said, though, that sometimes the local government is responsible for the engineering. And if we're responsible for the engineering, then we're responsible for the engineering costs. So if we want the engineer to do more, that means our local match will be greater and they,
Yep. Yes, it would.
you know,
It may end up costing us more.
Let me clarify.
One of the reasons they may have done it that way is, I don't know if the grant is a percentage of the construction cost or a fixed amount,
It's a fixed amount total.
so it doesn't matter. I thought maybe if it was a percentage of the construction cost, Coleman might have done it that way, so the grant pays for part of those costs, because if they do it, like you said, that, you have to pay the whole thing, but that may not be.
Well, the way the grant is set up, the maximum project allowed is 60,000 and the maximum grant allowed is 45,000. You know, so as I'm writing letters for contributions, different organizations, that's one of the things I'm putting in the letter is that, you know, we have the bare bone project. And so, you know, any donation towards the project will help pay for a better project.
So you get the 45,000 no matter, even if the project cost is less.
No, but the project's not gonna cost less. I mean, you know, this is a basic tennis court project. I mean, it's really was set up so that we could have a contractor install the fence, we could have a contractor basically put the hard surface down. Those are the two main areas of cost that we can't handle, you know, so it's gonna be a piecemeal. I mean, I agree with you, George. It's, you know, it would be better to have them take that under their scope.
Oh,
You know, from a performance standpoint.
I'd feel much safer, you know, happier and safer, and knowing that you got somebody seeing the whole project overall from start to finish, and so we can end up with the job that we want to end up with.
So tabling it then, everybody okay with that?
We'll bring it back at the next meeting with
I
those
think we
answers.
should proceed, but it sounds like we're gonna table.
Okay, is there a majority at least for tabling?
We might, if you proceed, we might have an addendum if they add $1,000 for
Lee,
testing or
Are
something.
you okay with tabling it?
Yep.
Chris? George, I assume you are.
Yes.
Then we'll table that for next meeting. Last thing on the agenda is the approval of the Sturgeon Falls Hydro Units number 3 and 4 troubleshooting and testing. Joe?
Unit number 4, the high-speed gearbox unit at the hydro over the summer, it started acting up, and it's very erratic. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but we'll be running it. It'll run for a week, and then it'll come offline. We'll put it back on, it'll run for 2 days, it'll come offline, we'll put it back on, and it'll run for a month, and it's real sporadic. It comes offline, and the alarm that is setting off is loss of excitation or loss of field in the coil. That's generated from a generator, a little generator that sits on top of the generator that produces power for the field excitation coil. And there's a problem with it. And we've troubleshot it ourselves. We've checked all the wiring. We've checked all the connections. We can't seem to come up with what the issue is. And we're talking with Dave Krause. He recommended I call this Ames Company, who's done a lot of work on other hydro projects, electrical type excitation work specifically. That's what this is for. Ames is a company that rebuilds generators and a rewind shop for large motors, and came highly recommended. And Black River Falls, Wisconsin had them come in and do some excitation work in their facility, was real happy with them. And I wanted to try to get this issue resolved with number 4 before spring runoff hit, because losing that machine during the spring runoff is going to cause a lot of problems with water flow, obviously. If we're running it and it shuts off and 600 cubic feet a second gets diverted, and then we have other issues with gates not being open enough, and just
And
causes a
especially
lot
with
of
the amount of
problems.
snow north
Yeah.
of us has been
Yeah,
happening.
this
It
is,
should be
this is
good
gonna be a
runoff.
hairy spring anyway. And while they were here, number 3, unit number 3, which is the unit that sits right next to it, is also a small vertical unit. And that unit, we can't put it online when all the other generators are online and producing power. The exciter will not raise the voltage in the coil high enough to match the bus voltage and then allow us to sync it in. So the way that I have to get it online is I run up to the substation up here while they're down there spinning it and exciting the coil, and then I lower the voltage on the system so that machine will match it, and then it'll come online. And it's not supposed to be that way. We've gone through the device that monitors the voltage excitation levels is called, it's made by Basler, it's called the DEX 200 device. And I've looked through that device on the program, and I can't find any limits in there that where it's set up improperly. All the voltages are right, all the amperages are right. Everything appears to be correct. I had Dave Krause take a look at it when he was here. He didn't find anything that was incorrect, but something in that unit, all the other DEXs, there's 4 of them down there, one for each unit, will bring it up and sync it in. This one will not. And so the price that you see was $7,790 to troubleshoot unit number 4, and another $2,232 to troubleshoot the DEX 200 and try to figure out why that is not doing its job, for a total of $10,022. And
This is just to troubleshoot them to find out if the repairs are gonna be on
yeah,
top of
this
them.
is just to troubleshoot them, to tell them what's wrong. They're gonna come with some special relays that they're gonna actually wire into the device that's gonna monitor everything. So these relays are gonna record it, and we're gonna put it online, and we're gonna run it, and hope it falls offline within a few days. And then it'll tell us exactly everything that happened in the sequence before it fell offline, so we can try to find out what that problem is. And that they have some relays that will do that at this shop. And they've done it at other places and have been successful in this process. So that's what I'm asking for you guys to approve that. It's a maintenance type item in a budget. My maintenance budget for the hydro is pretty stretched right now, but going through my budget, there are some other areas where I'm not spending some money, and the $10,000 will be able to be covered within the current budget parameters that we have. It won't make us go over budget or anything. It'll just get switched around a little bit, move some money from one area to another.
Like Joe said, I think it's important if there is problems to get these figured out and fixed before runoff. So with the runoff we're gonna have, we should be able to run pretty much full open.
Oh, it will be running wide open. I'm just hoping that it's not so much at one time that the tail race comes up and then it's even, we don't make any power then either, but we'll be running them.
I realize this has to be done, Joe, but this unit, how old is it? Is there warranty? I mean,
The unit is a 1985 model.
when was the exciter that's causing you the problem?
It's the original exciter
The
on it.
original exciter?
Yeah.
There's been no work on this through the whole project down there
No,
when everything was
when,
redone?
if you remember when the gearbox went out on it,
Yeah.
and we had that done, we didn't do any work on the generator part of it. So, it was just the gearbox.
Out of curiosity, what's the ballpark estimate of the cost of a new exciter?
What I'm hoping for is, if you guys remember back, it would have been probably in 2005. We had 2 gearbox units down there, 2 high-speed units, and 1 high-speed unit blew up, and we elected to put a direct connect unit in its place. I still have the parts from that other high-speed gearbox unit, and I have the exciter from the other one. It's a sister unit to it, identical. And I'm hoping that if there is something wrong with the exciter, I can just use the other exciter to fix the exciter that's on there. That's what I'm hoping for. But I don't know that yet.
Would it be cheaper just to change out the exciter and see what happens? Or?
Not if I don't know if that might not be the problem, the exciter. It could be a wire in the coil could be shorted in a field. They're gonna totally check the generator from top to bottom, which is really not a bad thing to do anyway. I have been talking to them about preventive maintenance on the 2 big horizontal units also. You know, I had them up here and we went through the whole plant and they said, Joe, when's the last time you took the unit down and megged out all the coils and checked them over? And I said, that's never been done. And they said, well, that's usually about every 5 years the power companies take them down and check them out and clean them and make sure they're okay.
Weren't them wheels gone through, when we were down here on,
No. We've never done anything with the generators, except for straightening that big one up, you know, it was crooked. We had a change order to straighten it.
yeah, but the big
But-
one's that's been rewired, because that burnt up once.
Yes, it did. Excuse me, I got a bad cold. Yes, George, that one was rewired. I don't have the exact date, but I've been here 12 years already.
Yeah.
And we've never touched that unit in the 12 years I've been here.
But they were basically checked out, when they sat there and all the rest of it was redone, they were, tested.
When the turbines were redone?
Yes,
Yeah, I think we did something,
absolutely.
and
They were.
like when I
checked.
first got here, 2000. I think we did something when I first got here.
I can't believe that
Okay.
that wheel sat there and we never put a finger on it to look at anything or check it out.
Well, I'll look through the books, but I didn't see nothing written in the maintenance logs. We did an iron study and a size study on the larger unit to make sure it would handle extra capacity,
Yeah.
but we didn't measure out the coils or clean it. They do a dry ice sandblasting to clean the coils. That's how you clean coils on a generator. And I know that's never been done. So,
That oil leak on 4, Joe, that hasn't been taken care of yet?
we have the oil leak that was in the radiator and on some of the fittings.
No, the big one on
The big one on the bottom?
Yeah.
No, that still leaks oil. We're building a pan to put underneath it to catch the oil, so it doesn't go on the floor. It's something inside that unit. We've opened up the access port and looked at it, and I think the oil's just splashing over the top of the containment area
Yeah,
and getting down on the shaft, so we're just having a pan built for down there to catch the oil. it's just too expensive and too cumbersome to go back into it
Yeah.
and try to find the problem. The best thing we can do is in the future, identify the problem with it and try to change it out over time. You know, save the money up, change it out, and get a direct connect unit in its place, get rid of the gearbox.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we spend $10,022 on troubleshooting and testing for AIMS power system.
Second.
Motion made by George, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Minigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes? Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
And that's our business for the evening, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. Okay, George, what do you got?
Tricia, number one, sorry, on our manufacturer, I'd like to change, there's $12,259.30 under that payment. No, I'm not, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page here. I'll talk to you after, Tricia. I'll find it and I'll talk to you after. Joe, have we got any more information on them wings that I had mentioned back in November?
I'm getting, I just received a price on the truck with a wing on it, because we got a dump truck that's gonna probably go bad really quick, and I gotta talk to Mary and Ray yet about when we can possibly pull the trigger on a single axle with a wing. But as far as an absolute price for putting a wing on those tandems, no, I do not have a price for you.
Have we done, I kind of asked if, you know, if there would be a way that we could get one to try out to see how much we could cut our time down and everything on that, you know, before we go out and purchase something like this. You know, if we could pick something up, either from Schultz or somebody, so we could, you know, see if it's gonna do the job that we would think it should do or would like to have.
Yeah. Let me call them tomorrow, George, and find if they have one there with a wing on it to bring over.
Because I know them wings can be stationed in a couple of different places, and I think it'd be good to find out which would be the best situation, if it'd be off the plow itself or back behind the grader blade. And, I mean, our time is gonna be running out here in another month. We ain't gonna have, even though it's snowing out now, we're gonna be running on a short end. Ray, I see you made a comment on them credit cards. Wasn't this checked out 3 years ago on this credit card?
Yeah, Mary got some.
And I see on this, on a quote here, for the AMS, that they put a stipulation in there on that credit card, that there's an additional charge.
Mary ran up some information.
There is it was about 13 months ago, there was actually a federal court case that was settled, and what came out of there is that you're allowed to charge or pass on that surcharge, and the maximum is 4%.
Yes, when Doc asked, I'm sure that we got a clarification on that before we even got involved with this thing.
Prior to the percentage, we were doing just a flat fee because some of the cards would not allow a percentage. Some were, but some weren't. So that's when all this got settled, they allowed you to do a percentage, but up to 4%. That was the only real stipulation on there.
Okay. While we're talking about that, I made a mistake. The person who asked me the question, it wasn't about credit card fees. It was about using debit cards, which apparently there is no fee, but we were charging people to use a debit card. So I made a mistake in my question last time.
When I
Approached by a citizen who was concerned that their mother was charged a fee for using a debit card, not a credit card. And apparently with a, I don't know, but apparently with a debit card, there is no fee, so we don't lose anything, and we shouldn't then therefore be charging or passing on a fee that we're not being penalized.
I'll check into that further, Doc, but I think we are charged a fee. I think on a debit card, we're also charged a fee from
Okay,
the
well, I don't know,
the
it's a
processor.
debit card, but
The only one I know of that you're not allowed to charge a fee on is like the prepaid cards. If somebody comes in to use a prepaid card, a prepaid Visa card that you might buy for a gift for somebody, you can't charge a fee on those, because we're not charged a fee when those are run through. But I will check further on debit cards. What I looked up and found didn't really specify, I just talked about the ability to charge that surcharge. But I'll look further into the debit card side of it. Make sure that we're where we're supposed to.
But we don't charge then for prepaid.
Correct. Somebody comes in with like a prepaid Visa card or whatever.
Okay, George, what else?
I had a question about thawing the water, but evidently that's too big right now, I guess. I don't even know what it was about. That's all I have.
Chris? Dr. Hayes?
Is the problem with the water and sewer gonna put a strain on our budget if we're paying that much more for electricity to pump the water and we're having to run it down the sewer? We're not gonna pay more for sewers, but is it gonna impact the water department as well, or not?
Well, there's gonna be an extra cost, obviously, to the water department. It's something that I think the water department can handle at this point. The water fund's healthy enough to take this kind of activity. I'm actually more concerned about the sewer fund with the extra treatment costs. It's something we're trying to keep a close eye on.
I did some checking in with the staff too on letting the water run. And some communities are going to a community-wide order. We are not allowed to go to from what I understand, we are not allowed to go to a community-wide order because of our well capacity. And our well capacity is so close to the limit, if we did, it would drop the pressure too far and we would risk fire protection. Am I stating that correct, Ray?
Yeah, it's what's called firm capacity. The aquifer, there's a little bit of a concern that if we overtax it, that it won't recover adequately enough. But what happens is that you end up with too much of a drain, poor use of words. When you overtax that aquifer, it doesn't rebound quick enough, and if you have a fire, then they call that the firm capacity. We're going to have to deal with that in our next project that we talked about with the water department. But you're correct. In fact, right now it's just the run order is for if we thaw you out, then you're going to run your water, and we're going on a case-by-case basis.
But I just wanted people to know, we did look into whether we could do a community-wide one to keep it from freezing, and we can't. We cannot do that. Go ahead, Dr. Hayes.
The question I had was, last meeting was our presentation for Mike Peters from WPPI about getting meters. Has that been looked into, or is that practical for the city?
On the smart metering?
Smart metering.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're going to be moving forward on at some point. The question is the timing and the scope, the overall scope. We're going to be getting into a lot more detail coming up in the budget hearings. It's not something that, we're going to need to make a snap decision on over the next month to 2 months, but we're definitely going to want to look at it in a greater context of our budget, overall budget, 5 years out, now to 5 years, and how we're going to progress. Because I think that, in the future, that's where as you change your meters out and in our computer systems, that's where we're gonna be heading.
I just brought it up because I want to make sure it wasn't forgotten and that we were looking at.
No, we're definitely, we've got it as part of our whole project or whole program of with the electric, not only electric, but on the water meters, with our cables. So we're prepared to have that conversation.
And do you have any recommendations as far as the presentation for Mr. McMahon tonight?
Yeah, I think that, you have to look at how much money can you budget, and then we look at, our road conditions, which, we've talked about this for the last couple of years, that we have a number of roads that, a large number of roads that are just basically reconstruct. They're past the failure point. But we've been, because of the amount of work we've done since 2004, 2005, 2006, we can't forget, those roads that are in that 5-6 Pacer rating area, and those are the ones that we should take a portion of whatever monies we're able to obligate and do something with them. So I think that there's parts of this presentation that we're going to be able to, to fully vet out and see if we could do it. I think Section Street, when I walked down Section Street with Mr. McMahon, I mean, it was really interesting to see what he was talking about. And, if you could add another 8 to 10 years of life onto that road, it's going to save you money over the long haul. The question is, how much money do we have available and how do we allocate it? And that's going to be the big question. Again, go through the budget hearings and we'll completely line those out.
You gotta remember, that's like a block and a half, 2 blocks of crush and shape to resurface section, or to that micro-seal the section.
Ray, would that be possible, or Joe, would this be something to look into? Could we strike up a deal like we did with our streetlights? And then smart metering?
On the smart metering, they have a program that they work with us on, but I'm not sure exactly. What
As far as,
the smart meter, the metering for the electric.
yeah,
I mean, they have a program that
they have a program for some of the software that it takes, that we can finance, that at 0%, but the actual meters themselves, they don't have a program for those yet. If our Washington DC ever comes back with the energy efficiency funds, there are some monies that you can get for the smart metering, because that is considered energy efficiency, because of what they do and all the good things that they offer. We could apply for a grant or something and possibly get some money that way if something comes up. But right now, the meters themselves, we'd have to pay for those.
Anything else, Dr. Haynes?
There's one other thing, but let Mr. Mangini go first.
I got excuse me, a little food for thought here. Watching TV and all the storms that they've had all over the place, I've noticed almost every big city got snowplows on their garbage trucks. Is this something that we've ever looked into? I know we've got a contingent fund. Every year we save X amount of dollars for a new garbage truck, and I believe we're getting kind of close to a new garbage truck. Would it be worth it to look to, I mean, I don't know, no idea what it would be to put a plow on one, if it's even possible. Have we ever looked into it? Let's put it that way.
No, we've never looked.
Well, it won't cost anything to look at.
Really, Lee, I think the only reason why that is done is because them are the only trucks that they got.
No, I've seen other ones too, regular plows.
No, but I mean, they got so many garbage trucks that them are the only trucks that they basically got that they can put plows on. I mean, what else can they? I mean, that would be my understanding why they have them on these garbage trucks.
multi-use.
Right, otherwise, I mean, like.
Well, still be something interesting to look
I know
into.
where you're coming from,
Yeah.
I've thought of it too. I was kind of, gee, that's the.
Roadmaster has a large contract with the city of Chicago. I should ask him.
You've got so many of them.
Oh,
why
really?
couldn't you, like- And besides, look at you, You could fill the back end, and use it for weight.
And I'd like to comment on the city crews doing a great job on keeping the roads clear. And I'd also like to apologize to Ray for a comment I made at the last meeting. I had said something on the mining map stuff, or the mining inspector report. I said, I see it's dated October and we didn't get it till now. Well, I look back on my records and lo and behold, there it was, and I just totally forgot about it. So I apologize for making that comment. Let's see, I had one other thing here. Let's see. No, I guess that's it.
Hey, George, you said you got...
Mary or Ray or anybody, who pays Peterson's for thawing out all the water?
We are.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
How come it doesn't show in here how we pay them?
We haven't paid yet. They haven't sent us a bill.
Ooh.
Yeah, so just save that question. It's coming.
Well, no,
What fun.
Yeah.
I asked about that last week too, and they haven't billed us yet.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I know what my other comment was, with the frozen water lines, and did I read someplace where we actually had a frozen water main also?
Two frozen water mains.
My big concern is fire protection. If we have a big fire, even without the frozen water main, and you got all this water being run all over town, are they gonna have the proper pressure to fight a big one?
To my understanding, I talked to David just last, matter of fact, I believe it was either Saturday or Sunday. And he said they had two water main breaks, and one of them they were gonna fix either today,
Oh.
or they were gonna fix it. They were letting the water run so it would thaw the earth, so they could dig it. So I'm assuming they're doing the same thing for both the spots. One is on Iron, and I think one is over on Norway Street.
200 block in Norway.
200, well, that's...
215, right in front of 215.
And both of those areas are in number of our thawing areas are actually in this water and sewer project that we've talked about.
No, it's just.
Well, Iron
Just in the
Street,
road.
basically Iron Street is bad all the way.
Right.
The front
And
is just-
Norway Street, that's on this major water project, right?
Yep, we got the last end of Norway Street, Second Avenue, you got Mine Street, Iron Street. So those are all areas that we're gonna plan to hit with this.
Iron Street is one that really has to
I
be
think we should be insulating it
They have trouble.
online for
I
a
would.
complete,
for the cost of neoprene insulation.
complete new line. I know that's really
Side,
bad.
we have styrofoam stuff.
One other thing here. On the memorandum we got from your on these water lines under the city streets, I guess I just don't understand, if I want to run a water line under the street and I sign a waiver saying, hey, I am responsible for anything that might happen, why that isn't good enough. Like here it says, I would also recommend that we work with the current 4 or 5 people that have this situation and have our attorney develop a hold harmless agreement with each individual. Then it says this is not foolproof. Well, why isn't it foolproof if, I guess I don't understand lawyer talk.
That's just what our insurance agent is telling us.
They just said that's nothing's foolproof on it. I don't know.
But I mean, if I take full responsibility and that line ruptures and damages the road, I'm responsible, not the city.
You would think.
Well, yeah.
The question, Larry, is that when they run, we have somebody that's wanting to run the line.
I read the memo, yeah.
Okay.
May I say tongue in cheek, sir?
Yes.
If it's foolproof, we're out of business. I'm just joking.
But yeah, and that's what they told us, is that it's just never foolproof.
Well, the insurance companies may have their collective experience over the various states and regions, find that there's always a judge that's gonna say no. So, all we can do is tell you, it sounds like it, but, when push comes to shove, we'll be there.
Well, I can't see letting the 4 or 5 do it and not anybody else, which according to this, you'd have to get in a foolproof agreement, hold harmless agreement with the 4 or 5 that are doing it. And I can't do it if I want to.
Yeah, they actually recommend that we not allow anybody to do it.
I can understand the power line, that I can understand, running under the road. But just a 2-inch pipe or a 1-inch pipe, whatever they're using,
But the power line has to go with it.
I'm saying, I can understand the power line.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I can put a pump here and run the line over there and suck it without having the power go all the way over there.
That's not the way that they're set up.
Oh, well, I don't know how they're
The
set up.
the pumps are right down by the lake. They run the power line through our facilities. That's how they're set up. Because you can push water a lot farther than you can suck it up. And those little jet pumps, they don't really suck that
But if you
far.
prime it on one side, you can still,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's how they're set
Maximum
up.
32 feet.
So, yeah, 22 feet is about maximum that you can pull
Yeah,
in height,
Oh, and height, yeah.
yeah. So,
through our facilities. They have
Yeah.
where you can push it forever.
Go ahead.
One last question then, where are we as far as trying to sign up our own residents into our own power system? And specifically, I was looking at Valley View, where there was a farm out there that was run on Wisconsin Electric. And if we're working on, as far as putting a loop through to Prairie Lane, are we looking at that? And also then, we
Yes.
do need a light on the end of Valley View Drive. There's been one accident there that probably would have been avoided if there had been a street light. I've never pushed for it because I use that area and I thought it would be conflict of interest, but if we own the power line there, I can certainly see more as putting in a light. So have we gone anywhere? Are we sending people letters and saying that please?
No, we can't send them a letter. They have to send us a letter, and I'm working with somebody to give me a letter to give to them. They haven't given me the letter yet. I will let you know when I get that letter.
Okay,
So that's where we're at.
we can't solicit them?
No, we can't solicit them.
Well, how could we send them a letter then?
We can't send them a letter.
Somebody will.
We will keep you abreast of the issue.
Okay.
How far do we go anyway on Valley View Drive? Where do we stop?
Botchick Lane.
Botchick Lane, we go down as far as Botchick Lane?
All of Botchick Lane is on We Energies.
Okay.
They come down and they come up to us, and then they turn in by Botchick Lane, and that old, I don't know whose farm it is across from Botchick's, there's an old farm.
Horwitz.
Okay, they serve that too. And our line goes right past there. I don't understand how that happened, but it did, so now we gotta try to fix it.
Well, then you've got Section 5 too, Fumy Lake Road, Upper Pine.
On just center line this side of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, Joe, I'm just doing some thinking here. I think if you talk to my brother Edgy, there was, I don't know if it was when we installed TV or internet, that we went up that way, and they had to put a line extension in there for the TV. That's why the lines both run. There's a reason up there why that is there. At one time, there was only a single line. But either the TV, I think it had to be TV, that we wanted to run on our poles, and that's why the two lines ran together.
Okay.
And I don't know, I think they might go down to the bottom of the hill or someplace, I don't know how far.
They're down by the railroad, where the old railroad grade is.
Okay.
That's
Now-
kinda where we end.
Ray, I don't even know, maybe you might know, did we service ourselves when we had the wells up at Lake Fumie? Did it go down to the track and run all the way up to the tracks of Lake Fumie? Okay, that is the reason why the lines crossed.
That's what I was told.
Okay, I didn't know if that was our power up there, but if it did go up the tracks, that's why. And that's why the lines are doubled.
Makes sense.
I would say that if anybody out there in television land has power through We Energies and you're a resident of this city, that contact me and I'll make some inquiries.
Okay. I have no comments. Joe, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, there is. Just a little FYI for everybody. I'm working with Kaiser on a warranty issue on unit number 2. 2 of the hydraulic cylinders developed oil leaks. It's been running less than a year in service. They came down and looked at them today, but I haven't got an answer on what exactly they're gonna do yet. But just to let you know that that's going on.
Okay, cable-wise, we got the channel lineup changing coming up March 1st. And there's been some complaints lately, especially the last couple of weeks, about the internet running slow. Have we seen anything? I haven't seen it, but I've heard the complaints.
I haven't seen any complaints come through.
It's been more, nothing official, just
Okay, well,
people complaining.
they're
that
not
theirs
coming to
have been
me.
running slow.
I don't know if they're taking them in the office.
Trish had a couple, we talked
Yeah,
about it today, we were
okay.
gonna talk with you tomorrow.
All right, okay.
Okay.
We'll look in and see how the bandwidth is doing.
On the same note, Channel 7's been all goofed up.
Channel 7 and HBO were locking up quite a bit, but that all happens up at, the HBO stuff gets piped in on the fiber direct to us. That all happens in Packerland Broadband's head end. That doesn't happen here. So then we gotta call them and tell them to reboot their HBO receivers.
Channel 7's been really just off the air and whatnot, unless it's just my house.
No public channel for you.
I'd like to see what's going on.
All right, now let me ask about that too then, and find out why, see what this problem is, if it's the receiver or what it is.
Anything else, Joe?
No, that's all.
Okay, Mary? Tricia? Larry, anything from you or from Jay's office?
Thank you.
Great.
I have nothing.
We don't have any closed session this evening, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a
Also
motion, we
moved.
adjourn.
Okay, George made the motion, Chris supported.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.